a timeless cinematic classic, a revolutionary animated film, often regarded as one of the best films ever created by Disney and frequently described as a tale as old as time. This film is one that holds an extremely strong place in many people's hearts, as well as Disney animation history. Highly acclaimed back then, and still highly acclaimed to this day, 30 years later, this movie is one I'm sure all of you have seen before, Beauty and the Beast. Released in 1991 and considered one of the crowning achievements of the Disney Renaissance era, this film has been a fan favorite to many around the world. In fact, when this movie came out, it further helped confirm to the public that Disney had entered a brand new era with its animated films. Where The Little Mermaid, released in 1989, did a great job in setting the stage for this period in Disney history, Beauty and the Beast took everything to the next level in numerous ways, and to this day, many people still have a strong soft spot for this film, including yours truly. When it comes to my history with the film, I had the film on VHS growing up, but believe it or not, when I was very young, this was a movie I was actually nervous about watching, mostly because I remember certain points of it scaring me into staying away from it. These were mostly related to some of the scenes with the Beast and his moments of anger. This feeling of worry wouldn't last forever though, because at one point in time, my big brother and big sister started watching the movie more frequently, and they showed me parts of the film bit by bit, which did help in making me feel more comfortable watching it, until finally, I no longer had any fears about seeing it, and I eventually declared it one of my all-time favorite movies, right up there with other classics like The Lion King. My fascination with Beauty and the Beast is still prominent to this day, and now, as of November 22nd, 2021, in honor of the film's 30th anniversary in the USA, I've decided to look into this film and see how it holds up, and how it earned the title of being one of Disney's best of the best. Based on the story of the same name by Jean-Marie Le Prince de Beaumont, and set in 18th century France, Beauty and the Beast tells the story of Belle, a young woman with a love of reading and a desire for adventure, and an arrogant prince who was cursed by an enchantress and transformed into a beast a decade ago for his bitterness and cruelty. For the latter, the only way to break the curse cast upon himself and his servants is to learn to love another and earn her love in return, before all the petals of an enchanted rose bestowed upon him before he was cursed fall. When Belle enters the Beast's castle and trades herself as his prisoner in exchange for her father's freedom, the two get off to a rocky start, but as time goes on, they start to form a connection with each other and form a strong relationship. But even with this, the Beast must learn to love Belle, and Belle must learn to see the Beast not as a monster, but as an equal individual, before the rose loses its final petal, deciding whether the Beast will remain cursed or be restored to humanity. From analyzing the story, it becomes crystal clear that this is a romance story between two characters, which is something that has been seen time and again in films beforehand. And since this movie is from Disney, there's bound to be a lot of familiar elements in store, ranging from musical numbers, fleshed out characters with a lot of personality, animation put together thanks to the creative artists and animators, and artistic liberties that help differentiate the film from its original source material, all of which have given the film its unique identity. Now, for me personally, as of 2021, I haven't read the original source material, so I can't compare the Disney film to that original tale. But then again, that's something I won't be doing anyway, since the Disney film deserves to be judged on its own merits to see how it holds up. Well, when looking into this film from a critical standpoint, I can say with full confidence that this movie, like I already said, is a solid animated film and one of Disney's best works of art, since there's a lot to appreciate about it. For starters, the movie has a colorful cast of characters brought to life by their respective voice actors, beautiful animation that shows that the artists and animators behind this film were at the top of their game, and a story that's easy to follow and has its audience rooting for the heroes in hopes that they'll achieve victory in the end. All of these elements are worthy of helping give the movie some recognition, but can we say anything more than that? The characters come off as not only fleshed out and memorable, but many come off as relatable and would go on to become popular in their own right. The animation is beautiful on its own, but it goes a step further in trying out new techniques to help bring certain sequences to life, and the story is layered with elements that give it a lot of substance and quality. The strongest of which I personally feel is the character development for our two main leads, Belle and the Beast. Now, character development is very easy to see as a quality in this film, especially when seeing the Beast go from angry and selfish into kind, empathetic, and even respectful towards others. However, when looking into this film, Belle is also someone worthy of giving praise for her development throughout the feature. Starting off as a kind and intelligent woman with a love of reading in her provincial town, she's someone presented as longing for adventure and hoping to find someone who understands her, especially since almost everyone in the town finds her weird and different. While she doesn't let this stop her from being her, which is very admirable, the comments from the townsfolk do sometimes get to her, which is established when she talks with her father Maurice about it. This is a trait that helps make her a sympathetic protagonist, but there's also the fact that she finds herself getting the attention of the local hunter/celebrity of the town, Gaston, one of Disney's most narcissistic and pompous, not to mention meme-inspiring, villains, who views Belle not as an equal, but as a prize to be gained. Despite this, Belle is seen rejecting Gaston time and again throughout the film, showing her persistent refusal to bow to Gaston's wishes, which is nice. Also, she proves herself to be generous by offering herself to take Maurice's place as the Beast's prisoner, even though she does initially break down emotionally over this, given how the Beast doesn't give her a chance to say goodbye to her father and initially treats her very badly. Thankfully, the Beast's servants come off as more welcoming to Belle, and she does start to feel better when they treat her with hospitality and open arms, especially with their catchy number, Be Our Guest, though her disdain for the Beast's actions remains intact. However, everything would change when the Beast saves her from a pack of wolves, and this is where her character development really kicks off. Having fled into the forest after she wanders into the castle's west wing, a section of the castle that the Beast told her not to go into, and being terrified of the Beast's resulting rage, Belle attempts to escape through the forest, but finds herself surrounded by the hungry wolves. She gets chased around the forest, nearly falling into a frozen lake, and nearly mauled by the savage predators, but then the Beast appears and saves her from the wolves, nearly at the cost of his own life. After the Beast collapses from his fight, Belle initially prepares to get on her horse Philippe to resume her escape, but it's at this moment where she realizes something that helps not only her and the Beast, but also the story too. The Beast, who beforehand treated her badly upon her decision to stay in the castle, didn't hold much if any respect for her and scared her into fleeing into the forest, just risked his life to save her from the wolves, and had it not been for him, she wouldn't be alive. Out of the goodness of her heart, she helps the Beast back to the castle to nurse his wound, and despite a rather funny scene where the two argue over who's responsible, Belle takes a moment to thank the Beast for saving her life, which shows a subtle implication that Belle may start treating the Beast not as a monster or a captor, but as an equal whom she's willing to open up to. This scene also serves as the turning point in the Beast's behavior, for he now sees Belle not as someone he can treat poorly out of selfishness, but as someone who's willing to start a friendship with him if he can improve himself, therefore giving him a glimmer of hope that maybe the spell could be broken after all. And sure enough, in the following scenes, we're treated to moments that really show the duo's character development going into full throttle, ranging from the Beast giving Belle the castle library, the two finding a way to enjoy a meal together without making the other uncomfortable, to feeding some of the local birds and having a snowball fight, until finally, we reach the iconic ballroom sequence, where the two happily dance together, a friendship having grown much stronger than it ever has before, and a guarantee that love is sure to blossom between the two. It's a sweet moment and one of the film's best sequences, but it also results in a rather somber scene where the Beast, after allowing Belle to see her father through the magic mirror and seeing him sick in the forest and all alone, decides to let her go so that she can help him. He claims that Belle is no longer his prisoner, but part of me thinks that even before that, he didn't even see Belle as a prisoner anymore. I mean, after all the scenes of the two bonding and enjoying each other's company, I'm quite sure that the Beast may have forgotten about Belle being his prisoner, or at least didn't take that matter seriously anymore, and was just focused on making Belle happy. This is further backed up when he's questioned by Cogsworth about his choice, to which he simply says that he loves her. Whatever way one would put it, it shows how far this guy has come with his character development, and it helps make audiences feel bad for the dude, seeing that he just gave up his one chance to be human again, all for the sake of the one he loves. Now, there's another part of Beast's character development that's also worth a lot of praise, but I'll save that for later. Meanwhile, the other positives I have to give this movie are more than deserving of all the praise they're given, ranging from the memorable and relatable side characters like the charismatic and flirtatious Lumiere, the uptight but well-meaning Cogsworth, the motherly and firm Mrs. Potts, her curious son Chip, and many more, the incredible soundtrack brought together by the collaboration between Alan Menken and Howard Ashman, and the awe-inspiring and even groundbreaking animation. In fact, the more I think about it, this is some of the best hand-drawn animation Disney has ever offered. And considering that this came out in 1991, that's all the more reason to give it so much recognition, especially when looking at the ballroom dance sequence, which utilizes the hand-drawn animation of Belle and Beast dancing, and a CGI room that helps give the illusion that there's a camera floating around the area, tracking the duo's dancing. All while we're treated to Mrs. Potts' beautiful singing of the movie's main theme song, Beauty and the Beast. Every time I watch this scene, I'm always in complete awe of how they managed to pull this off. This would be one of many instances in which some Disney films would experiment with new ways of incorporating CGI into their hand-drawn films, like the wildebeest stampede from The Lion King, the wide shots of crowds and moving around the cathedral in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and the scenes of Tarzan swinging on the jungle vines and branches in Tarzan. So one could say that this was a huge leap in trying new methods with animation techniques, so major kudos to Disney for that. Now, watching this review so far, you've seen me give this movie a lot of praise, which shouldn't be surprising. But what about flaws that this movie has? Believe it or not, when I started looking at this movie from a critical standpoint, I found myself actually having trouble thinking of issues this movie has. It's kinda shocking considering I was able to find issues with The Lion King, which is my favorite movie ever, so to look into Beauty and the Beast was challenging in this department. But I've managed to think of some things that I find rather odd. One thing I'm sure some people would complain about is Belle's decision to go in the West Wing, even though Beast told her not to go there, and in doing so nearly touches the rose, thus earning her the Beast's rage. It may seem like a legitimate flaw in Belle's character, and it is one of the scenes that scared me when I was young, but looking at it now, it's not a scene I consider a big problem, because at this point in the movie, Belle and the Beast hadn't grown fond of each other yet. The latter still had some anger issues, and had just taken Belle prisoner, so by this point in the story, Belle was most likely not taking Beast's warning seriously. Not to mention Cogsworth and Lumiere's attempts to divert Belle away from the West Wing only resulted in her being more curious, since they said nothing of interest was up there for her, to which Belle replies that it wouldn't be forbidden then. Combining this with how the Beast treated Belle roughly, and how Belle wasn't taking his warning seriously, and I see an interesting scene that invokes some interesting imagery, foreshadowing, a nice score that helps breathe atmosphere into this sequence, and a catalyst for the duo's chemistry taking off after the wolf attack scene. Although I will admit, Belle nearly touching the Enchanted Rose was still not the best idea. This, however, is not the big scene that I'm questioning. What I have started questioning is something completely different. Throughout the movie, we see that Gaston has a lot of fans in the village, who follow and support him in whatever he does, including his quest to murder the Beast once he finds out about his existence. While Gaston escapes the ensuing fight to find the Beast, the rest of the villagers, including Gaston's sidekick LeFou, are quickly dispatched of and forced to retreat. But once they leave the castle, that's the last we see of them. I know it may seem odd to question what happens to them next, but given that they just found out about the enchanted castle, were taken down and forced out by the servants, and likely weren't around when Gaston fell to his death, it's made me wonder what happened afterwards. Did they find out about Gaston biting the dust sooner or later? Did they ever think to come back and fight the castle inhabitants again at a later date? Weren't they ever prosecuted by the Beast once he became human again? Did they ever find out about the Beast being a cursed prince this whole time? Like I said, this is a weird thing to think about when it comes to the villagers, especially since they never showed up at the ending dance and weren't all that supportive of Belle anyway. But this is actually something that I started thinking about after seeing the 2017 live-action remake directed by Bill Condon. In that film, it's stated that the Enchantress, in addition to cursing the Beast and his servants, also wiped the memories of them from their loved ones in the village. Only when the curse is lifted and the castle inhabitants are restored to humanity are the memories of them restored in the villagers. Even though the remake is looked down upon by many of us in the fanbase, heck, I will admit I'm not huge into the remake either, I will give it credit that they gave us this little plot element, which I thought was really cool, along with LeFou's character development where he reforms in the end, but let's not talk too much about that film. Going back to the original, whatever happened to the villagers afterwards is something I became curious about, but if I had to guess, perhaps they retreated back to the village, eventually heard of Gaston falling to his demise, and even if they tried to launch another attack, it would be fruitless because not only did Beast and his servants become human again, but the villagers would now know what they'd be up against. Also, if they got any outside help and claimed there was a Beast in the castle, it would also not work because, again, he's human again. If anything, I'd say the tables have turned and now they are the ones considered crazy in the eyes of others. So much for calling Maurice the crazy one, eh, fellas? And speaking of the movie's big fight scene, it leads to a series of hilarious yet awesome moments for the servants and what they bring into battle against these villagers. From Mrs. Potts and her kids pouring super hot water on one dude, the wardrobe diving off an overhead platform and crushing another while dressing up another villager, to Cogsworth laughing like a lunatic while piercing LeFou's rear with some scissors to save Lumiere, to Lumiere blowing fire at another invader to save the life of the Feather Duster, this scene has no shortage of great comedy. Once the fight shifts to Beast and Gaston though, that's when things get real and it becomes a legitimate life-or-death struggle. After Gaston gets the drop on the depressed Beast, taunts him into trying to fight him, and is about to decapitate him with a club, the Beast suddenly regains his will to live when he sees Belle reappear at the castle bridge, begging Gaston to back down. Seeing that Belle loves him after all, even after he let her go, Beast gets back on his feet and viciously battles Gaston across the castle roof. A one-on-one match between two strong adversaries, out in the pouring rain and with lightning flashing in the sky. The fight ultimately results in Beast grabbing Gaston by the neck after the latter viciously claims that Belle is his, and holding him over the edge of the castle. This causes the hunter to lose his pride and cowardly beg for his life, to which the Beast, after a tense moment of fury, slowly loses his rage and spares him, before ordering him to leave the castle and never return. That moment in which he does is the moment that, to me, officially completes his character development arc. Even the tone of his voice in which he says, "Get out," is done in a calm manner, as opposed to his louder and angrier way of saying it when Belle was in the West Wing. With this in mind, and including the earlier fight between the servants and the villagers, this final battle is handled so well that I actually consider it one of Disney's best final battles. Unfortunately, it also nearly ends on a tragic note because once Beast reunites with Belle, the dirty coward Gaston literally backstabs the Beast, only to lose his footing and plummet into the dark crevice below. This is what ultimately kills Gaston, but the damage is already done. And as Beast lays dying in Belle's arms, he claims that at least he got to see Belle one more time before passing away, much to everyone's sadness. Belle begs for Beast not to leave her, claiming that she loves him, but it seems too late. For Beast is gone, and the last petal has finally fallen from the rose. However, this last-minute declaration of love is actually what saves Beast's life in the end, for Beast is slowly lifted into the air by a magical force, before he slowly but surely transforms back into his human form. where he's reunited with Belle, and the two share a passionate kiss, before the rest of the castle is restored to its former glory and the servants become human again as well. It's such an incredible climax to the film, and after all the characters had gone through to get to this point, it's a well-deserved happy ending for our heroes. A curse broken, the bonds of friendship stronger than ever, and a new beginning for all in this tale as old as time. As stated before, Beauty and the Beast was a huge success when it came out in 1991, and it helped usher in a new era for Disney animation, where they would make several more movies that would become hits in their own right, while simultaneously pushing animation and storytelling to new levels. Even before this though, the film got a chance to air at the New York Film Festival when it wasn't even finished, and it also got a lot of praise then. And even better, the film earned a Best Picture nomination at the Oscars. While it didn't win the award, the fact that it got nominated is such an incredible feat. The success of Beauty and the Beast would also lead to Disney making a few spin-offs here and there, or have the series represented in some other works. Such examples include having the characters appear at Disney parks, some cartoons like House of Mouse, and some video games like the Kingdom Hearts series. There was even a Broadway show that opened in 1994, which I managed to see around the early 2000s at a young age, and I also heard that Disney is planning on bringing it back sometime in the future. The movie even got some special re-releases on home media later on, including a special edition which included a previously deleted song, Human Again, which I have seen and consider a great addition to the film, since it shows the servants' perspective on how things are improving in the castle, has most of the original cast back for their respective characters, and is a really enjoyable song altogether. Also, like many big Disney films before and after, the movie would also get some direct-to-video follow-ups. In this case, it would be the two midquels, Beauty and the Beast: The Enchanted Christmas and Belle's Magical World. Both of these, I will admit, I'm not huge fans of, but I do have a slight soft spot for Enchanted Christmas, since it does tell a decent story and is a good holiday film at the very least. Belle's Magical World, on the other hand, I don't care about at all, since it only consists of cliché and predictable stories, has some lackluster writing and animation, and just isn't that important as far as continuity is concerned. Also, as I brought up before, the movie also got a live-action remake released in 2017, which featured an all-star cast including Emma Watson, Dan Stevens, Luke Evans, Ewan McGregor, and Josh Gad to name a few. I already said that I'm not a huge fan of this film, but I will admit that I enjoyed seeing it when it first came out, and I don't outright hate it either. If anything, it's just a remake that we didn't really need, but I can still accept that it exists, and is there. But regardless of all these follow-ups and how they would be received by the general public, the one thing that is undeniable is that the film that spawned all of this media has left an incredible impact on society. With all that it has to offer, from an engaging romantic story, breathtaking and groundbreaking animation, memorable characters with great vocal performances and personality, along with some strong development for the two main leads, and a beautiful soundtrack, Beauty and the Beast is truly deserving of its title as one of the greatest films Disney has ever made. What else can I say except I love this movie so much? When it comes to the many movies that I've seen throughout my life, this one has held a strong place in my heart for years, and despite it scaring me at a very young age, it still ranks as one of the best I've seen in my life. Even if it's overshadowed by The Lion King in terms of being my all-time favorite movie ever, it's not a knock against Beauty and the Beast by any means, since it's just as legendary in its own right, and I proudly consider it my second favorite movie that the company has to offer. That alone can speak volumes on how much of an impact this movie has had on me. And for that, I am very grateful that this film exists. If you have not watched this movie yet, then I absolutely recommend you do so, since it's one of those films that helped shape Disney into what it is now. For a story said to be a tale as old as time, it certainly knows how to be a timeless classic. And for that, I say happy 30th anniversary to Beauty and the Beast. It's been an honor watching it throughout my life, it's a movie that I am very proud to have seen throughout my life, and it's especially a movie that I am willing to give a well-earned A+. And before I end the video off, there's one final thing I want to bring up. This review I not only want to dedicate to Beauty and the Beast's 30th anniversary, but also a very special man whose contribution helped shape the movie into what it is today. Howard Ashman. As I said earlier, he worked with Alan Menken in creating the music for the film, something that can also be traced back to the earlier Disney film, The Little Mermaid. Sadly, Howard passed away in 1991 as a result of AIDS, before Beauty and the Beast was even complete. It's unfortunate that he didn't live to see the movie in its completion, or how successful it would be in theaters. But based on what I've heard in documentaries like Waking Sleeping Beauty, before his passing, he was reassured from those who also worked on the film that people enjoyed the test screenings of the film, and they were certain that the movie was going to be a big hit, something that Howard himself thought would be the case too, before he finally passed on. While it is undeniably sad that he passed away before the movie came out, the fact that Beauty and the Beast went on to become one of Disney's best films shows that his work on this movie paid off extremely well, just like his work on The Little Mermaid and the studio's next film following Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin. So in a sense, he died with honor. And if he lived to see the movie become the hit he thought it'd be, I have no doubt that he would have been extremely proud. As the credits of the film say it best, to our friend Howard, who gave a mermaid her voice and a beast his soul, we will be forever grateful. I couldn't have said it any better myself. Thank you, Howard Ashman, for the legacy you've left behind for all to enjoy. Godspeed. And with that officially wraps up my review of Beauty and the Beast. I want to thank you guys for watching this review and hope you enjoyed what I had to offer today. Until next time, this is KGrove94 signing off. Take care everyone, and thank you all for being my guests. Oh, and no one falls to his death from the top of a castle roof like Gaston. Ha ha ha! So long, you cocky narcissist. Enjoy your Nobel Prize in the afterlife.